And of course, reports reaching us right now has it that Nigerian Senate has announced lawmaker Lola Ashiru as the deputy leader of the Senate, replacing former lawmaker Dave Umahi, who is now the Minister of Works. Also, Peter Oyekachi was moved to fill the vacant position formerly occupied by Senator Ashiru and becomes the Senate Deputy Whip. And of course, this puts to rest speculation over the position of several lawmakers appointed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who have now taken cabinet positions. Of course, right now we cut to the Senate to observe proceedings.
The Petroleum Trust Fund then. Immediately after my youth service, I got a job with former Intercity Bank PLC, and I remained in the banking career for 10 years. From Intercity Bank PLC to Unity Bank and to Access Bank PLC. In the course of my banking career, I was trained on due diligence, transparency, and accountability in carrying out financial transactions. I got an opportunity to head the cash unit, funds transfer unit, clearing unit, reconciliation unit, operations and coordination unit in these banks. I also got an opportunity to be redeployed to audit an internal control department. And I happen to be the youngest and the only female in that department with the former Intercity Bank. Before rounding up my career in the banking industry, I became a branch services head, otherwise known as operations manager in some other banks, in the then only Access Bank branch in Kaduna State. I decided to resign from the banking career, because of my burning flair and passion to serve humanity. So I joined politics in 2010. By 2011, I was appointed as the Senior Special Assistant to the Executive Governor of Katsina State. In that same moment, I was also appointed as the member of the board of the State Board of Internal Revenue. By 2016, I took a temporary assignment with the ECOWAS as a presidential election observer at Cape Verde Island. From 2017 to 2022, I worked very closely with the pioneer minister of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, and Social Development, from Refugee Commission to the ministry. I saw the formation of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs from its baby stage to where it is today. I participated fully in all the activities of the ministry, especially the National Social Investment Programs. In the same ministry, I held the position of the National Program Coordinator for the Conditional Cash Transfer Program. One of my groundbreaking records of achievement in the cash transfer office was fully digitizing the payment process system. So I brought my banking career and expertise into play. The digitization of the conditional cash transfer program made transparency and accountability easy on the Abacha restituted funds and World Bank funds that were used in that program. It is no doubt that my being a coordinator in that program has exposed me and availed me the opportunity to come in direct contact with the poor and the vulnerables across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. The conditional cash transfer, as we know, covered 613 local government, 55,000 communities, and 7,000 political wards. A program that touched 2 million homes, which translated to about 10 million individuals. The digitization of that program gave an opportunity for the unreached and the unbanked to be fully coached and mentored on financial literacy. It was the first of its kind in the history of Nigeria to open over 2 million accounts in 3 months across commercial banks, microfinance banks, using payment service providers regulated and licensed by the central bank. This is my biggest achievement, because by digitizing the program became the biggest financial inclusion program, not only in Nigeria, but in West Africa at large. Distinguished members, I would like to still commend you, because what the social investment program has been lacking was a legal and institutional framework. And this hallowed chamber has done justice to the program. I'm very much familiar with all the programs. I have participated fully in carrying out all those programs across the country. I'll pause here, and I'll say thank you for listening.
Thank you. Distinguished Jimmy Kuta. Oh. Senator Jimmy Kuta, just 1 minute, give her an opportunity to, she's from Katsina, so Senator Danduse may wish to say whether he's in tune with this appointment or not.
Opportunity to speak on behalf of my sister. I want first of all congratulate the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces for finding it worthy to approve the appointment of Halima Shehu Kapin Dangi. She is from Katsina, and she is one of the most respected family she came from. And looking at the activities and her educational background, she works in the banking industries, and she also works in Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, and she coordinates most of the activities of the ministry. So I believe this program will be very transparently and responsibly handled by this gentlewoman. Because what a man can do, woman can do better. That is why Mr. President find it worthy to appoint her as national coordinator of this social investment program. So, Mr. President, I want to urge my colleagues to support this very important appointment so that she can take a bow and leave. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, distinguished Senator Danduse. But I don't know whether the Senate heard you well. That what a man can do, a woman can do better. So, and here we have more men than women. So it means that the men can also reconsider whether to accept or reject this appointment. Am I right? Because I mean, you should have been lobbying us to accept, not to come and tell us that women are better than men. So I'm not arguing, but I think Senator Alero, you may wish to correct him.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting in the chair, my distinguished colleagues. My name is Muhammad Adamu Aliru. I represent Kebbi Central. Mr. President, before I correct him, let me also make a comment on this appointment. I think this is a very appropriate appointment by Mr. President. He has considered her experience. He has considered her educational background. He has considered her performance. And I think it's a well-deserved appointment. And let me congratulate the nominee. Apart from that, Mr. President, social investment programs have been bedeviled with a lot of controversies in the past. Under the previous administration, it was nothing short of lack of transparency and accountability. Most of us here are living witnesses to what happened. Billions and billions of naira had been spent in order to alleviate poverty. But unfortunately, we have not seen the impact of it, or very little impact have been recorded. And that is why the poverty level in the country continues to rise. And right now, this Senate has approved over 500 billion naira for palliatives. In addition to that, we have also got $800 million from the World Bank. And this office is going to be in charge of distributing this money to the poor and the needy in the society, the poor and the vulnerable group in the society. Mr. President, how sure are we that this money will be distributed equitably and fairly so that the desired objective of reducing poverty in this country will be reduced? I read in a number of journals that Nigeria is the capital of poverty of the world. I'm pained to read this kind of narratives about Nigeria. And quite honestly, we have all it takes really to remove our people out of poverty. The previous administration mentioned that they want to move 100 million people out of poverty within a period of 10 years. I'm not sure we have achieved even 20% of that. But I hope, and I sincerely hope, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with the support of the National Assembly, and with the appointment of ladies like this, will be able to remove Nigeria out of poverty trap. Mr. President, apart from that, there are complaints, majorly from opposition political parties, that when this money goes to the state, it doesn't go to the opposition parties. And poverty, no bounds, no barrier between APC and PDP, no barrier between Islam, Christianity, or even non-believers. And I sincerely hope that the nominee will do her very best to ensure that all these barriers are eliminated when the money is going to be shared. So I rest my case, Mr. President. I thought we were to have.
Senator Alero has dodged the issue of whether a man can do better than a woman, or a woman can do better than a man. But for the nominee, note the first question that came out. Is asking that in the past billions were spent and not much impact was noticed, and that particularly in states where monies were spent through government registers, that the opposition in those states did not have, are you noting it? The opposition in those states did not see anything. It even happened in my own state. So what he's asking now is, what will you do differently to ensure that all Nigerians are carried along, since poverty does not know any boundary? And poverty has no political boundary, no religious boundary, and all that. And so if this money is made available by Mr. President, who is president of all, irrespective of political parties, irrespective of religion, what will you do differently to make sure that this thing reaches those, the vulnerable, that these monies are meant for? I think that's the first major question. Yes, Senator Olarere, am I right?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues. Let me also start by congratulating the nominee for being found worthy. I'm particularly interested in your CV because you have traversed the length and breadth of this agency, and you seem to have a good grasp of what is happening there. But I just want to support what Senator Alera have just said. A lot of controversy is surrounding this issue of conditional cash transfer. He has mentioned one, I'm not going to repeat that. But there's another confusion. The word vulnerable is being used in so many contexts here, just to plan. But I think it will be necessary for this agency to really define who are the vulnerable people. Because from what we have seen in the past, you just use this vulnerable to plan in the office. When it gets to the field, the real vulnerable people are not the beneficiaries. That is the truth. Because I'm from the rural area, a very village boy. And when this conditional tracker, I don't know how many people in that rural area have access to bank. When you are registering them, you are opening an account for them. I've traveled there so many times, they have no bank account. And what you are saying, those that have no bank account cannot benefit. How do you intend to penetrate the real vulnerable people in the remotest rural areas in our Nigerians so that they can feel the impact of this program? Thank you, Mr. President.
So your second question is clear, that in view of the fact that not all the vulnerable people and poor people in the country have access to bank facilities, what will you do differently to actually reach the real grassroots who may not have access to banks? Senator Jimmy Kuta.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sitting as the chairman of the Committee of the Whole, the nominee is a vibrant and experienced public servant. She was instrumental in uplifting the life of over 2 million Nigerians when she used her former experience as a banker to digitalize the conditional cash transfer. Mr. President, the nominee, she's a round peg in the round hole, and I believe this responsibility given to her, she will bring to bear with her experience the desired impact that this renewed hope agenda of Mr. President Ahmed Bola Tinubu to vulnerable Nigerians as needed. And let me use this opportunity again to thank and commend Mr. President for identifying with our talent. And I want to assure this honorable chamber and Nigerians, based on our experience and what I go through the activities of humanitarian before now, when I go to the conditional cash transfer, is the only program in that program, is the only department in that program that I was be able to see records. And I stand here before this hollow chamber to tell you, Mr. President, that most of the people I confirm from my own state, Taraba, the beneficiaries were across board. There's nobody that tell me that when they were given this money, they selected APC and left PDP. So I want to beg this hollow chamber and distinguished colleagues, let's do the needful and give the MD, the nominee of the Mr. President, an opportunity and cooperation to do what she knows how to do best. Thank you, Mr. President.
So we leave the commendations. If there's anybody with a question, Senator Omer, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Victor Ume. I represent Anambra Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, the nominee is well experienced, no doubt. I'm very pleased with her profile of service. But from her CV, there was something I saw that agitated my mind. That's why I've been seeking this opportunity. Madam Nominee, you had in your last appointment the duties to deliver 5,000 naira by monthly targeted cash transfer to 2 million homes across 613 local governments in 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. When I saw that, I knew that Nigeria has 774 local governments. So I did a calculation and saw that 161 local governments were not covered in their duties in trying to make this money available to the poor people. I would like to know from you why 161 local governments were not covered. Because it lends credence to what some people had raised as the issue here, that this money should be available to all and sundry within the brackets. The money is meant to alleviate their sufferings. You put it on record that you were able to do that in 613 local governments, and 116 local governments were not covered. What was the reason for that? That's my question. And I know that, no doubt, given the opportunity, you have the experience to run a transparent thing. Why were 161 local governments not captured in your previous assignment? Thank you very much.
Victor, I think if you add the 6 area councils in the FCT, she probably left out 167, not 161, because outside the 774, we have 6 area councils in the FCT that will take the number to 780, because they are also treated as local governments. You understand? So that would mean that she has to explain why she left out 167. Senator Izonaso?
Thank you very much, Mr. President, sitting as chair. My name is Senator Osita Izunaso. I represent the people of Imo West. My question is very direct, Madam Nominee. There is no doubt from your CV that you have all it takes to occupy this position. So I think, Mr. President, I've made a good appointment. I congratulate you. In your last assignment, you talk about vulnerable persons. My colleague also mentioned vulnerable persons. But nobody is talking about persons with disability here. Persons with disability, by the 2018 Disability Discrimination and Protection Act, is very emphatic that 5% of employment done in Nigeria, both in the private sector and public sector,